Hello, you're watching ITV News Meridian. Tonight's headlines in the southeast. 35% of people fear they could become homeless next year. We speak to those who've experienced rough sleeping as the cost of living crisis deepens.
People don't know when their life's going to be over, when they're going to be out on the streets.
The race to complete upgrade works on the southeast railways as strike action looms for New Year travellers heading back to work. And Brighton get ready to take on Arsenal, knowing they could head into the new year as a top 6 side. Good evening. More than a third of people in the UK believe they're at risk of losing their homes in 2023. That's according to a new survey by an organisation that helps homeless people find work. Energy prices, the cost of Christmas and the ongoing cost of living crisis means many people are struggling to afford the very basics. In the final part of our series, No Place to Call Home, Joe Caution has been speaking to those who've experienced living on the streets in the southeast.
People don't know when their life's going to be over, when they're going to be out on the streets.
Phil served in the Merchant Navy for nearly 2 decades. He's been homeless for the last 5 years after splitting up with his wife. Ever since, he says, he has been made to feel worthless and betrayed by those in power.
I will say this right now, I served this country. I've got medals for this country. But the government won't do nothing. For their own people, they watch what's going on, they know what's going on, but they choose not to help.
The government has committed £650 million to preventing people like Phil from becoming homeless over the next 2 years. £41.8 million of that going to councils across the southeast. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced the funding at a winter shelter. As he serves breakfast, listen closely to the conversation he has with Dean, a man experiencing homelessness.
Well, do you work in a business? Do you want some fruit?
I'm homeless. I'm actually a homeless person, but I'm interested in business.
Is that something you'd like to get into?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. But I don't know. I'd like to get through Christmas.
It's an exchange that's been described as excruciating by Labour MPs and has raised questions with one homelessness GP in Brighton over whether decision makers are really in touch with what's needed.
I don't think you can have good health without a home. And actually what we found during COVID was we got everyone off the streets and we gave them somewhere safe to stay. We gave them food, we gave them support, and we saw overnight people's lives start to improve.
Even temporary accommodation places are scarce. The Rainbow Centre in Folkestone used funding to buy up rooms at local hotels and B&Bs.
This is one of our rooms.
But they have more than a dozen people who are already homeless on a waiting list. How hard has it been to find enough accommodation to meet the number of clients?
In general, in the town, the hotel rooms or B&Bs are being taken over by the Home Office, and that has given us fewer choices of rooms available to us.
Many of those experiencing homelessness we've met during this series say they feel like the system is designed to keep you in it, but you can get out. Keith showed us where he used to sleep on the streets. Now, 8 months on from when he first became homeless, he's in his own private place.
Keith, hello. You all right?
Come on in.
Thank you very much. How does it feel to have a roof over your head again? It's been a long time coming.
It's great. It's great to have them keys and not worry where you're going to be sleeping tonight. Is it going to be dry? Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
We've followed Keith and many others' journeys over the last few months. Their lives do not change overnight. Neither will the government's funding in ending homelessness, but they do believe it'll reduce it. Here at this soup kitchen, though, Jamie and Kaylee, who are no longer homeless, are sceptical because they're still having to make tough decisions.
We're scared to put the heating on, to be honest. We put it on the other night and it cost £10 for one night to put one storage heater on. So, that just puts things into context a bit, really. It's quite scary, yeah.
Charities say until that changes, the fear of having no place to call home is incessantly real. Joe Caution, ITV News.
27 sheep have been killed in a field in Tenham near Sittingbourne. Police say the attack is one of the worst of its kind and think more than one dog may have been involved. The NHS in Kent is warning the public that many services in hospitals, at GPs and in the ambulance service remain under extreme pressure. A combination of usual winter pressures and COVID and NHS staff sickness have led to delays and queues. And in Kent, one chief medical officer says even at this stage, it's not too late to get a flu jab.
We know that the beginning of January is often a really, really tough time for the health service. So I don't want to say things are going to get better in the next couple of weeks. I think they will remain very, very tough. And we'd really like people to help us with that by choosing where they go for healthcare wisely. And also to say it's not too late to get your flu jab or get your COVID booster. That will also help us enormously.
And a critical incident has been declared across health services in Sussex. The NHS there says they're seeing very high numbers of people needing care in A&E, dialing 111, accessing GP services and calling 999. That's coupled with high levels of flu, and COVID is also creating significant demand. Rail passengers are being warned to expect a full week of disruption when they return to work next week, with yet more strikes taking place. Both ASLEF and the RMT unions are taking action. GTR says it's going to be a difficult few days, but next Thursday looks to be the worst.
On the 5th of January, so Thursday the 5th of January, there will be no trains at all across the Southern and the Thameslink network, and that is due to national action being taken by ASLEF, who represent our train drivers, and because it's our train drivers, that is the reason why we're unable to run any services at all on that day.
Meanwhile, hundreds of engineers are working this week to try to cut delays with a major project to improve the Brighton line at Victoria and a scheme to renew a junction used by 1 in 3 southeastern trains on the approach to London. With more, here's Mike Pearce.
While many are putting their feet up over the festive holiday, hundreds of Network Rail engineers have been hard at work. Major projects to improve the routes from Sussex, Surrey and Kent to London are seeing upgrades to the track and signals costing tens of millions of pounds.
This is a really important junction on the network because over a third of southeastern traffic travels through here every day, and the ripple effects of any disruption just travels really far and wide.
At the moment we're about halfway through, so half the old track's gone and we're starting to replace the new in sections. The first section's going in as we speak. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. We've got track panels that are pre-made before the job. They come in on a train and then the big Keir-off crane drops them into the right position. Once all the new panels are in, we connect them up, we weld them together. Well, the new componentry should mean that we have really improved reliability in the area, so hopefully far fewer delays in the Kent region.
The work comes amid the rail strike set to continue and cause major disruption for the first week of January. But Network Rail say it's the best time to do the work.
We're actually in a really tough year, especially with industrial action. But these works have been planned in for the last 2 years, and the fact is if we don't do them now, then disruption in the future would be even greater.
Meanwhile, the company has again appealed to the unions for more talks to try to solve the ongoing dispute over pay and working conditions. Mike Pearce, ITV News.
2 men have been jailed after targeting Hastings social services. Jamie Wilder on the left from Kent Road in Hastings and Finlay Cujo, who lived in Hewenden Road, earmarked the homes and vehicles of social workers. They were motivated by Wilder's animosity towards Hastings social services. Wilder was sentenced to life in prison, Cujo to 4 years. A charity in Kent is offering to collect and recycle old Christmas trees if people make a donation. The scheme by Pilgrims Hospices will raise money for every tree collected in the Ashford, Canterbury and Thanet areas. Meanwhile, Hastings Council is offering a free tree recycling service. They turn the trees into compostable material for their local parks. Let's take a look at some sports news now, with a busy few days coming up for our teams.
Xero accounting software. sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
League Two Gillingham were in action last night and suffered late heartbreak at Sutton. Despite Robbie McKenzie's equaliser looking like it had earned the Gills a vital point, the hosts grabbed the winner 3 minutes into stoppage time. Crawley Town, meanwhile, who are without a manager after the departure of Matthew Etherington yesterday, after just 32 days in charge, take on Stevenage tonight. After back-to-back defeats, the Reds sit in 20th place. To the Premier League now, and Brighton have announced former player Enoch Mwepu will take up a coaching role in the club's academy. The 24-year-old Zambian international was forced to retire from playing back in October after being diagnosed with a hereditary heart condition. And Brighton's first team take on Arsenal on Saturday. The Albion could move up into the top 6, having moved up the table following their Boxing Day victory at Southampton.
And tomorrow we want close the season, the year in the right way to reach a good result for us.
And Brighton's women have a new coach. They've appointed Jen Schur on a 3.5-year contract subject to the granting of a work permit. The 44-year-old German coach has agreed a deal with Albion that will keep him on the south coast until the summer of 2026.
For me, my main goal is to implement a winning culture, so that we are hungry on the pitch.
Remember, more news from across the southeast on our website. In just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Julie Etchingham. We're back tomorrow at 6:15. But from me and the team here, have a very happy new year. Bye-bye.